Hey yo, what is up guys? Your boy's back, and today we are going to be finally making a video of which I was planning on making for a very long time. And it's about CM Punk. And as you can tell from the title, I am not a big fan of CM Punk. So I guess I'll start with my story. When I was about in high school, I want to say, I was a huge CM Punk fan. I loved the guy. I thought he was great. I thought he was I thought he was such a great wrestler. A lot of the people online loved him. They liked him more than Cena. Cena was the worst thing ever. CM Punk, he knew everything. He was the best, essentially, is what it all really boiled down to. And looking back on it, I feel like a dum-dum now. I feel pretty stupid. So, how did I go from major CM Punk fan to absolutely just wishing the guy never existed? Well, not never existed, but like never came back to wrestling, never really never go back and watch his old matches. Sorry. And yeah, so let's start all the way back in about 2011. So I was watching, I think he sent out this tweet, and you always hear about what a jerk he is in real life, and then you kind of you end up seeing it at some points. There's that whole classic video of him calling the guy a homo and shit, and in that, what was it, at that live event in wherever it was, and then that he ends up he just goes on these weird attacks of people. I remember he called Christians flat earthers when it's they don't hold a flat earth point of view, you dum-dum. And then he fucking, what else was it? And then it was just a lot of stuff. And then all this stuff about how he tries to leave the locker room, but no one really gives a shit about him. Really is telling. That shit is just really telling about what kind of person he actually is. So then, moving on to his eventual walkout of WWE. So I don't really remember where I was. So apparently he walked out after the Royal Rumble 2014, left the company, and no one knew why. No one really understood anything at the time, and he leaves, and it's okay. And then just kind of the thing about when you do stuff like that, when you leave and you're not on television anymore, people kind of from my point of view, it's it's kind of hard to be your fan when you're not really around. And it's not that you left on good terms, you just split and no one knows why. And then there he is watching Blackhawks games. And how hilarious is it now that he's this huge Chicago Blackhawks fan? I like the Blackhawks too, and I like Patrick Kane. But then all that shit came out about them raping players and shit, all for company morale. But there he is dropping the puck at their fucking face-offs and shit. And in reality, CM Punk would never have survived a hockey dressing room in his entire life. Not with how he acts, but that's besides the point. So all this shit goes by. CM Punk, he ain't around. Eventually he makes that podcast with Colt Cabana. And yeah, little did Colt Cabana know he was going to be a massive shit starter for this guy later in his life. Those podcasts go up, everyone heard him, I don't really have to go into them. He goes into Hawaii quit. So, it really did, I do agree, some people say he sounded really bitter in it when it was talking about money and, I didn't get my WrestleMania main event. Okay, they don't owe you a fucking WrestleMania main event. Just because you wanted to be there. It's you have Rock and John Cena back-to-back years at WrestleMania, and the WrestleMania 28 is the highest selling WrestleMania ever. I think WWE made the right call on not having you in the main event and having The Rock in the main event. That's the call you have to make. No other call to make. Now, with WrestleMania 29, a lot of people have mixed opinions on the match. Looking back on it, I wasn't as excited for WrestleMania 28 as I was WrestleMania 29, and I was really excited for the CM Punk Undertaker match. Obviously, it's the Undertaker streak. Very excited for that match. And for the Brock Triple H match, I was also really excited for it. It wasn't really the most well-built card ever, but I remember being pretty excited for it. And yeah, I'm you know what, Rock, John Cena will be fun. I didn't necessarily hate it, because it wasn't a year-long build. It was 3 months. That was it. Rock got the belt at the end of January, held it all the way to whatever, late March, early April it was. So it really wasn't a very long thing, and he defended it at Elimination Chamber, but at the time I was pissed because I was a huge CM Punk fan. I'm like, I want CM Punk to win, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, yeah. So what was I saying about how... Anyways, yeah, I talked about how he wasn't getting paid the same. Well, yeah, you're not going to get paid the same as Brock or The Rock, because those guys are way bigger stars than you were. And then about how his whole title reign kind of went down. Well, the thing was, I remember that people talking about how his ratings weren't very good when he was champion. I'm not, like, they went down when Cena wasn't around, and he was there. So, obviously, like, you're not John Cena, no offense. But, yeah, so there was a lot of bitterness, but... Whatever, he left, and it's like, how are you supposed to get your main event WrestleMania when you quit the company? Like, you probably would have got one eventually. Like, I can't see a reason why you wouldn't have got there at some point. I could see some WrestleManias with you in the main event, but I guess you quit when you're ahead and you're over, I guess. Anyways, so then that whole thing happens. He joins the UFC, embarrasses himself. Not like anyone could get their ass kicked in a fight. It could happen to anyone. It's not really that. It was just that he didn't even look like really all that good. Now, again, there's other contributing factors that lead into that stuff, but again, should he have really been there in those situations? No, not really. And again, very privileged for being the superstar he was due to WWE, which he trashed the whole time and how much he hates the WWE. The only reason you got those contracts is because you were in WWE, dude. And then, now let's eventually get to the AEW stuff. He comes back to AEW, and I'm just like, why are people still, like, in love with this guy? I honestly don't get it, because it's like, by that point, I wasn't even a fan of the dude anymore. He's this weirdo leftist who, like, who's out there talking about supporting women's rights. Well, it's like, well, you're kind of killing other women, dude, if that's really what you're supporting. But, hey, that's his own fucking business. Whatever. Being a little fucking weirdo when you're, like, this super rich, privileged dude just because you want to act like a punk. Like, you're not really a punk, dude. Like, you're just some dude who's lashing out at everyone else. Whatever. Anyways, so I kind of saw this all coming when he came back. It's like, yeah, he's gonna leave the company because it's like, well, he left that company on pretty horrible terms, and nothing they ever did for him seemed to matter. No matter putting the belt on him for a year, didn't care. I had all these injuries and stuff. A lot of the wrestlers and stuff had lots of injuries and stuff, so it's really weird that those stories are really just from CM Punk. And yeah, but how he needed help with his concussion protocol, and then he wasn't like he didn't sound like he was responding properly. Even from his own end of the story, it didn't sound like he was responding. He's like, "No, I'm not going to do that." And it's like, "All right, bro." Anyways, so then we get to the whole all-out shenanigans. Okay, again, I finally ended up watching a match with him and Jon Moxley at that Dynamite a couple weeks ago, and the first thing I looked at when I saw him, because I haven't seen anything from him in years, this is the first time I'm actually like seeing him do anything, and then it's like, I'm like, wow, he looks fucking old. Man, he doesn't even look like he's in that good a shape, and that's the whole thing I'm looking at when I'm looking at this guy after he broke his foot and everything. I'm like, this guy doesn't look like he's in good shape. This guy doesn't look like... This guy looks old and beaten and disheveled, and then eventually he gets injured in their next match, and obviously the dude's made of glass, so you can't really put the belt on him anymore, because he can't fucking hold it, so it's like... He's just going to be an attraction from here on out, because he can't fucking wrestle it, obviously, anymore, because the guy's just... Everything's breaking down on him after 20 years of wrestling. And yeah, and then he has that whole scrum with the Young Bucks and Adam Page. It's like, he goes up there, acts like a fucking tough guy, like reaming everybody out. And it's like, you're going to do that to your own coworkers after you made that whole tweet about respecting your coworkers and standing with them. It's just the sign that the dude's a fucking hypocrite. He's a piece of shit, really. And yeah, you just went and buried... I'm not even a fan of the Young Bucks or Kenny Omega, but like... He's up there just burying everybody, talking shit about Colt Cabana. No one even mentioned Colt Cabana, and he's up there fucking bitching about him, and I'm old and tired, and I work with children. And it's like, yeah, here we go. So, this guy, like, he should not have handled it like that, and Tony Khan needed to just tell him to shut the fuck up. Like, hey, dude, listen, you shut the fuck up, we'll deal with this and that. And he went out there, embarrassed the fucking company. Yeah, that's your world champion. Goes out there and embarrasses your company. What an awesome guy. Gotta say, you just gotta love that, is having your top guy just embarrass everybody. and Tony Khan's just such a huge fan of his, and it's like, look at this. All the problems that were in WWE with Triple H saying, like, this guy's, like, he's distant, he doesn't talk, all of a sudden he wants to quit the company, and you go and talk to him, and everything's fine and cool, and then, like, yeah, and you could see kind of why Triple H would have had a huge issue with this guy, so, yeah, like, this guy really does cause a lot of problems on himself. He doesn't really take any accountability or responsibility for himself, and on top of that, he's a really whiny bitch, so... As much as I would like to continue on talking shit about CM Punk, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on him. Are you guys a huge CM Punk fan? I don't even know what to really say about the dude. Are you guys fans of the guy? Are you just still huge fans of his work as the wrestler? Because just the Phil Brooks, the person, I just would fucking hang myself to be around, to be honest with you. Anyways, I got stuff to do. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.